Okay, I'm going live again. All right, folks. I am back. Kind of made some decisions this morning. If I read from this book again, it won't be till next weekend, which just make life easier on me. And I give you an update here. So I read that book. That's up on my YouTube channel, and you should check it out. There's a short story version, all live readings. There's a playlist for it, which I finally redid, so you can just listen to the book. And it's on Kindle Reads right now for $2.99. That's a pretty good deal. And if you like the story, if you've liked it so far, please leave me a review. Go check the book out. The Kindle version has all the art in it. Anyways, my name's J.E. Krieger, author of the books of 9 and 10 Penance. And these are my 3 books that I have now that I have out in the series. The 4th book we're waiting on. I'm still working on it, but I'm hoping next spring, maybe sometime. Okay, and that's the 3rd book, The Tale of Yelizowski and the Unicorn. I drew that. So this is a young adult fantasy series, and everything's a little different. A young adult artistic fantasy, rom-com, and a dark fantasy. But I'm going to be reading from The Greatest Storm. I'll get into it here. We're on, I think, chapter 4. Yeah. The Myth of the Sea, that's the title of this chapter. And the whole book, or no, we're on chapter 3. Yeah, chapter 4, sorry. This one's called The Myth of the Sea, so we've switched back to Allison's character, who's now at sea, searching for the island and searching for her boyfriend, who's lost at sea. So this is her first night out at sea. Meanwhile, Allison White sailed on under a blanket of stars, guiding her journey in search of her one true love. The night winds were cold and the sea was icy, but the bread the Olavs gave her kept her heart warm, and the bottle that once held Stefan's letter kept her spirits high. Though it was hard work, she rowed with all her strength, until something in the distance broke free from the endless ocean waves. She set her oars down and had a look, but by then it disappeared, vanished into the grainy voids without a trace. So she kept on rowing, though she should have paid closer attention, because now this thing was circling her boat. Out of nowhere, a serpent appeared in the waters before her with a sharp snap and a great big roar. The serpent jumped out of the sea and landed to her right, then swam to the other side and made a quick jolt. The waves became choppy, swishing and sloshing in a mad frenzy. She realized this beast was not trying to eat her. It was trying to make her capsize so it could enjoy its meal in the unknown depths of the sea. The boat was rocking nicely when all of a sudden Allison White stood up and shouted, "Stop! Leave me alone! Why are you doing this to me? Have you no heart?" The serpent emerged in front of her boat and tilted its head, a piercing yellow gaze glaring back, amused by her tiny stature. Allison stood her ground long enough for this creature to realize she was no greenhorn of the sea. The creature kept pushing and shoving as it tried to make her ill and give up. She did not give up, though. She steadied her footing and shouted, "Leave me be or eat me as a snack, but I will not give up hope, and I will not leave this boat. The one I love needs me right now." The creature hissed an awful hiss, as if it was not about to stop toying with her now. It then went back to jumping in and out of the sea, causing her boat to bob and weave. Allison fell back in her seat and held on for the bumpy ride. The serpent's massive tail swirled through the waters like a snake. It moved from one part of the ocean to the next in the blink of an eye. She scorned at the beast. The journey I am on is far worse without you toying with my boat, for I am separated from the one I love. But her words only made the serpent toy with her more. It blew a bad gust of air from its snout. It then snapped its tail sharply, pounding its girth against the ocean. The sky rumbled with thunder and struck with fear. Rain poured down in a dreary scene of lightning sabers and jousting winds. It was a storm that would not pass, so long as this creature was attached to her scent. Allison had put up with this game long enough. She struck her oars into a strong moving current and pushed herself out of the way. It seemed for now the creature had dived into the depths and decided to leave her alone. What she didn't know is that this would only be the first test of her will not to give up, and one's far more deadly await her on her trip. She woke up the next morning completely exhausted. The sun was hitting hard. The sea's worst enemy was waging war on her ability to stay focused. Her vision was blinded by the golden yellow bouncing off the waves. She took a swig of her tea as she glanced at the map. The stars danced on her sail as a blurred glimmer in the sun. It didn't do her no good in the day anyhow, so she rolled it up and tucked it away. She then arched her hand over her brow and looked out into the expanse of the wide blue yonder. She scanned the voids until she saw something make a splash. She couldn't be sure, but it looked like a fin. The splash settled and then rippled outward. She assumed that whatever it was must have gone elsewhere. Then something shoved fiercely up against the back of her boat. She turned around to see what it was. Then she felt a shove coming from the front of her boat. Allison was stunned by what she saw. It was a myth of the sea, sizing her up and staring her down with the bluest of eyes, bluer than the ocean around, bluer than the skies above on a cloudless day. Her eyes bubbled in a manner of temptation no man could resist. Her skin was soft and tanned in a light golden hue. Her hair was long and blonde, flowing endlessly over the water. She was the rarest of rare, a perfect specimen of beauty no woman could ignore. Her smile radiated an aura brighter than the sun. Jealousy was just one of her many traits she was happy to share with any woman who dare compare their beauty to hers. Allison knew she couldn't just sit there, a whim to this myth's twang nature. So she looked her square in the eyes and asked a question of who she claimed to be. Who are you, and what do you want? The myth of the sea leaned back in the water as she ran her fingers through the waves, keeping her near Allison's position. She batted her bluest of eyes. Who I am is not as important as what you're doing in my waters. So let me ask the questions, and when you answer, try not to be so short. Allison snapped back. I have some place I must sail to before it is too late, and I'm sorry. I didn't know that the waters surrounding me belonged to you. This myth's smile slowly lifted as she replied, Well, tell me, what is your name, little girl, and what business do you have in my waters? My name is Allison White, and I seek the love of my life. He is lost at sea, stuck on an island, somewhere between here and nowhere. So now I search for him, and now you know. Now what do you want with me? This myth of the sea sneered back. I've already explained myself plenty to you. You still, however, haven't answered the one question I would like answered. What are you doing in my waters? Again, I did not know that these are your waters. The ocean is vast and wide and goes on for as far as the eye will allow it. Well, just so you know, the ocean, as vast and wide and as far as the eye can see, those are the waters that belong to me. Now answer my question, or I will rock your boat. Only this time my demeanor might not be as playful. The myth replied as she pushed a bouncing wave under Allison's boat. Okay, I'll answer. Last night, you see, a sea serpent was toying with my boat. It had these long fangs protruding from its mouth and a piercing yellow gaze in its eyes. When I finally escaped, I rowed for as long as I could until I fell asleep from exhaustion. That's how I ended up in your waters. The myth of the sea leaned back up and put a finger over her mouth as she chuckled. Funny. Allison did something no mortal with 2 legs would ever dare do to one of the most feared creatures in these waters. She leaned forward and shouted, causing those bluest of eyes to grow wide in a snarl. What is so funny to you? How dare you laugh at my problems? Allison did not know that these waters were hers and hers alone to do with what resides above and below, as she please. No, she didn't know, unless words not so harshly spoken have suffered a wrath far beyond comprehension. Maybe that's why the myth let that one slide, or maybe it had something to do with what Allison possessed that she had not yet acquired. Either way, she let it slide for whatever reason it was she had. The myth of the sea let out a great big cackle towards Allison's short and cute temper. I suppose you are not aware of what I can do to an insignificant little thing like you. I haven't given you my name either, so I suppose you aren't aware of who I am. I'll let your words slide this time, Allison White, but just so you know, from here on, these are my waters, and another attack on my character will unleash an unwarranted attack on that badly put together pile of sticks and glue you call a boat. Allison knew of no other way to respond but to sit down in her seat and say, "Yes, ma'am. It will serve you well to know your place. Now, as far as my laughter towards the troubles you seem to be having, at least allow me to explain myself before you decide it was inappropriate." "I'm sorry. I should have let you explain. Please continue." "The creature you ran into last night is my pet. His name is Azuzu. I assure you, he meant you no harm. He was looking for something I lost, and perhaps thought you possessed it. Or maybe he grew tired of searching, and thought it would be fun to play with one of the many insignificant things in the sea." "That thing is your pet?" "Why, yes," the myth replied, "of course." "What do you feed it?" "Plankton and seaweed." "What did you think it would eat? You? You're puny and weak. Too puny and weak for my pet to even call a light snack." "Tell me, what was he looking for?" The myth snapped, outraged she would ask such a silly question. "That is none of your business. Remember, these are my waters. I will ask the questions." "Well, maybe I can help," Allison said, sincere. "Oh, you can? With your little rowboat for paddling around, splishing and splashing along without realizing you've been circling all day in the same spot. Ha! No wonder my pet chose to toy with you. You can't even tell where you are on the map." "I get along just fine in this little rowboat once I get going." "Careful with your words. Remember, these are my waters, not yours. Now be gone," the myth said with the wave of a hand. "Your pathetic existence humors me no more. I shall let you pass, seeing as how my pet finds you amusing." "Wait, no, I can help you find the thing you're searching for, if you will give me the chance." The myth thought it over with a chuckle and decided to hear what she had to say. "I'll listen to one more foolish thing you have to say, then I'm off and on with my day. But before I let you speak, answer me this. What do you expect in return?" "Expect in return? I don't understand." "There's always a catch, a line at the end of a hook. This is something I know all too well. I have experience in these matters. No, it's not like that. It's just that well, what do you want in return? The worst I can say is no. Besides, that is probably what I will say. Actually, I could help you a great deal. How could you possibly help me in that pathetic excuse for something to float on? Well, I know my stride may be slow, but it is my keen eye for detail that could be of advantage to you. The myth of the sea's interest was piqued. This was something that rarely happened, if not at all, for nothing fancied her attention for very long. The sincerity in Allison's hopeful voice had her interested long enough to say, "All right, go on." I could be of service to you because of my lack of speed. With every inch I take in these waters, I can survey the lay of them with a perspective your pet doesn't have. The myth of the sea drew nearer and said, "Get to the point." What I mean to say is, because of my lack of speed, I'll be able to take in everything that I see. Your pet, however, moves too quick. Nothing keeps its interest for long. Yes, but what about the below the waters? True, I won't have that advantage, but I will be your eyes above the waterline, and that certainly has to be of some use. If I can help you, then what is it you ask for in return? I'm looking for the love of my life. You mentioned something about that earlier as you babbled on about yourself. Yes, well, if you could point me in the right direction, I will help you in your search. Is that all, dearie? You search for a man? Although you'll never find him, and even if you do, no man is worth searching for. You must make them come to you. He is worth searching for, I can assure you of that. Well, take my advice, Allison, in these matters, and sail back to wherever it is you came from, or stay here and amuse my pet. Whatever you decide, I've got better things to do. Allison shed a tear. If you know of his whereabouts, please tell me. The myth sighed in disgust. Out of curiosity, this man you seek, what is his name and where does he wait? With confidence spoken from the heart, Allison White stood up in her boat. His name is Stephen Blackman, and I love him with all my heart. Like I said before, he waits for me in an island somewhere between here and nowhere. I will circle these waters for as long as it takes until I find him. The myth of the sea let out all the air tucked in her belly and said, I've never heard anything so ridiculous. A woman in love with a man, let alone a woman who searches for one when there are plenty in the sea. Well, this one is special, she pouted. Special, you say? I've known a few addle-brained men in my day that could never compare to the foolishness you speak of. If only you were a man. Then I could have some real fun. I see now why my pet was so amused by you. You say funny things when spoken to. Allison tempted fate had said something she ought not to say to someone as cold and cruel as this. It may seem funny to you, but your inability to understand love seems funny to me. If you ever get that chance, it's a wonderful feeling to have. I pity you in your selfish attitude. You must be lonely. I need no man, and I never will. The only thing you need in life is yourself and your demands. Ask for a little more, and then bleed them dry until you can hold no more. Do you know why I think you're holding a conversation with me? No. Why? The myth chuckled. Because you're lonely and desire to have a friend. Well, aren't we beside ourselves today? Friends, ha! Who needs friends when I have things? There's this old saying, friends are like sea cows. They're always chewing on seaweed and slowing you down. Well, what a horrible thing to say. I hope you don't mean that. If you think so poorly of having someone in your life who you feel would only slow you down, then why are you still here, talking to me? Because you make me laugh. Reason enough to have a friend, don't you think? I will not be persuaded or tricked into believing in your ways, pathetic, puny little thing floating along in my waters this day. I'm not trying to trick you. Love isn't a trick. Okay, but tell me, what is so special about the man you seek? Maybe if I knew a little more about him, I could persuade you to rethink your poorly conceived thoughts on life and having a friend. I will tell you, but only because I hope that if you see what I see in him, my words might persuade you to one day seek out a friend. The myth craftily circled her boat. Very funny. Let's hear what's slowing you down and keeping you sailing around in one great big circle. Allison looked on out into the vast blue yonder and put her hand on her chest, thought of the one she loves, and poured out her heart. He is the softest, gentlest man I know. Ha! No man is soft and gentle on their own, unless a woman presents him with something he desires. Hey, I thought you wanted to know. Of course, go on. Please, I shall regale on your thoughts of love when I am alone and feeling an undying need to laugh. All right, where was I? Ah, yes, I remember now. He is the softest, gentlest man I know. To compare his heart to something earthly would require knowledge only a geologist could understand. Sometimes, in the morning, he nestles his cheek against mine and says, I love you, Allison White, with all my heart. Well, those sound like wonderful traits for a man to possess, for a pathetic, puny thing like you. But what about his looks? He is more to me than just looks, but if you must know, when you love someone as much as I love him, looks don't matter, despite what others think. All mortals, all creatures of land desire what's above the waters, not underneath. So amuse me and tell me of his looks. If you insist, he's charming and witty, he has a heart yellow and soft, and he has a way about him I couldn't possibly explain to you. Your head is in the clouds, Allison. I know what will fix that. The myth of the sea leaned against the side of her boat and tipped it over. Allison scrambled in the waters to stay afloat. She quickly grabbed onto the edge of her boat and climbed back in. Drenched in water, she said, I now truly feel pity for you, because now I see you desire a companion more than you will ever know. I have a bit of advice, myth of the sea. Treat others the way you would like to be treated, or you won't make any friends. The myth ignored Allison's last attempt at making a real friend and jumped into the sea, making a great big splash over nothing. Allison held on as her boat rocked back. The myth of the sea then swam away as she gave her final thoughts. You say funny things I will never understand. Have fun playing with my pet as you row on in circles searching for something you haven't found yet. I will find him, just you wait and see, Allison scourged with the fist. You amuse me. Maybe I'll show back up and have myself another little chat with the puny, insignificant thing sailing on in my waters, just for a good laugh. The myth of the sea then built up some speed and plunged into the waters below, vanishing without a trace. Allison was left all alone, but deep down in her heart she had a friend who waited for her, the love of her life, Stephen Blackman. There we go, and that's the end of that chapter. Probably later in the week, the next chapter is called The Stone That Time Forgot, and we'll go back to Stephen's character. I'm reading from this book in the middle. And hopefully the whole book does that. It goes back between Allison on the boat and Stephen on the island. And Stephen, of course, has lost his memory. I had a lot of fun with the next chapter, too. So I hope you guys will tune back in. And, of course, The Magic Paintbrush is already up on YouTube, and you can listen to that book. It's under the playlist. So I hope you'll subscribe and keep listening. It'll probably take me a while to get through this book. And I'm hoping to maybe at some point read some of my short stories, which are more like Brothers Grimm style stories. But yeah, thanks for tuning in on Sunday, and thanks to the one viewer. Obviously, there's one viewer that stuck around, so thank you for sticking around and listening to my story. Yeah, I suppose you can look it up later on, but I did all the art for that. Yeah, that's about it. Well, have a good Sunday. I'll see you next time.